And 18 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour, you're listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call to join the conversation. Sean McChesney, Nick Flaherty in the studio. And it is time for the very last time on the show for this year, our NFL picks for this week. So, like we said, we expect by the next time to be on the air to be in playoff mode. So maybe we'll
picking playoff games, baby.
Picking playoff games.
Playoffs? Talking playoffs?
Playoffs!
I just hope we can win another game.
Maybe we'll just play the music anyway when we do that. And anyway, so it's week 15. Very big week for a lot of teams, Nick. So we'll start with it right away. Kick off in about an hour. Thursday night football. We got the Tampa Bay ketchup packets versus the St. Louis mustard packets.
Uh-oh.
So you're going to go first, Nick. Who do you got in this one?
In what might be the last home game in the history of the St. Louis Rams, with the specter of them moving, I have the Rams tonight. You know, Tampa's had a really nice year, surprisingly. I didn't think they'd be this good. I thought they'd win about 4 or 5 games. Jameis Winston's been awesome. He's got a great case for Rookie of the Year. So does Todd Gurley. And I think both of them are going to be showcased here. And I know this isn't the most intriguing matchup and people aren't that entertained by it. But I'm telling you, watch this game, all right? Because Todd Gurley is a really great player to watch. Winston's been... You know, he does some dumb things that make you laugh. Like, he throws some terrible balls. You're like, why did you do that? But he also makes some great throws, and he's got some leadership quality that I really like about him. Doug Martin's been awesome this year, so and a player I mentioned with Craig before, he's criminally underrated, is Aaron Donald on that defensive line for the Rams. Fantastic player up front at the tackle spot, you know, and they have Michael Brockers and Robert Quinn, Chris Long. So I like the Rams here tonight in a close one, 20-17. Now, they don't have great quarterback play, but I see a lot of Todd Gurley.
I'm going to pick Tampa in this one. I mean, I like both teams in this. You're right, it could come down to be very close, and it could be the final home game in St. Louis. So for the fans' responsibility, you know, get fired up tonight. This could be the very last one. So hopefully the fans play a part in it. I'd like to see it. As for the teams themselves, and by the way, for people who don't understand the ketchup and mustard rant, just go on Twitter.
Just go look at the jerseys, people.
Go look
well,
at
you
the
don't
jerseys.
have to. In 40 minutes, you'll see them live, and your eyes...
You may be seeing them now.
Your eyes will burn.
Your eyes will burn. It'll be worse than the Christmas game against Buffalo and New York a couple
Merry
weeks
Christmas,
ago.
everyone. Exactly.
So anyway, yes, and happy holidays. We'll get to that as well.
Yeah,
but going on the game, I'm going to take Tampa. You know, you're right. You know, you could see the good and the bad from Jameis Winston. I expect the good tonight. Tampa's had a lot of inconsistency. I expect a very close game. The first thing you got to work on is the offense. Mike Evans has got to catch the ball tonight.
It was an awful loss last week in New Orleans, because if they won, they were still in the race for the while.
They won,
they're not out, but tonight is a must-win.
I think they're the last team in the hunt race. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, they would be 7-7.
I'm going to pick Tampa in a very close one. So I can see going either way, but if I got to pick one, I'm picking Tampa.
Yep.
Jets at the Cowboys Saturday night. My uncle and aunt are currently in Dallas for this game. I hope they're listening.
I'm sorry, Cowboy fans.
I'm sorry as well. I want to go first.
I respect you all.
Let me go first.
Go ahead, Sean.
I want to go with the Jets in this one. As much as it pains me, and I picked against the Cowboys a lot this year for the reasons of they are 4-9, so it sounds like I've been right with this team this entire time. I like the Jets on Saturday night. Ryan Fitzpatrick is playing his best football all season long. Excuse me, his entire career, actually. Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker, with those two on this team, have really shown who they can really be. Yep. We're seeing Eric Decker back in his Denver days, and we're seeing Brandon Marshall, you know, who knows, about 5-6 years ago. These two have really come across, and Craig said it the best. Eric Decker, he's probably going to be in the slot a lot on Saturday, and that's when he's most dangerous. The Cowboys defense, I feel, can make this close, but I just don't trust Matt Castle. And even if you play Kellen Moore, you know, I still consider that a loss as well. I'm going to take the Jets. I wouldn't say too close. I'm going to say by 2 scores.
All right. Do it with me. Jets. Jets.
Not in this one.
Jets. I had to do my fireman head for everyone there. But
for the last one.
I will take the Jets in this game. To me, they have, in a way, turned a corner mentally in how they prepare for a game and come out and be ready to play. So I think the Jets get this done. I agree with you. 2 scores. It might be close for a bit, but the Jets... listen, they need every game they have left. And Todd Bowles has created an attitude that they have to win out. And I believe that they can make it. They have to, they have their chance here. And they have a lot to be proud of whether they make it or not. But I like the Jets here. Dallas just is punchless with Matt Castle. So on to the next game, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to go off on that, Dallas' defense, I think, can make it close.
Yeah.
But again, it's all going to come down to, can Matt Castle make the throws? Can he get the team in the end zone? We saw it in Green Bay. He had a billion chances to do it. Actually, in the first 55 minutes of the game, he didn't throw a pass more than 10 yards in the air.
Yeah.
So let that sink in for
as my father said, if you throw the ball, when you need 10 yards and you throw it 3 on third down, what are you going to do?
Exactly. So I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah.
Not too comfortable, but at least by 2 scores or
Yeah,
less.
I would say 2 scores.
I don't even know what the spread is, but if I had to pick one, I'm going like 14 for that one. So
Probably.
We'll say that. So the next game, we have Kansas City at Baltimore. I'll start off with this one. You got to give this Kansas City Chiefs team credit for a team that started out, was it 1-5 this year?
1-5.
To now be 8-5, have won 7 in a row.
And lost their best player.
And you're playing a handicapped Baltimore team this week in Baltimore. I'm going to take Kansas City in this one. I like the way Alex Smith has been playing. Jeremy Maclin has really been a great addition for this team. And the defense, and again, they've been one of my disappointments for last week. Absolutely. Yeah. They should have pummeled San Diego. They played down to San Diego. They cannot afford to do this, especially because they're on the road this time.
Yeah.
Baltimore is that team, despite being 4-9, being without Joe Flacco, without Justin Forsett. They will beat Kansas City if they play down to them. So I expect them not to do that. I expect them to correct their mistakes and win this game, again, by at least 2 scores. I'm taking the Chiefs on the road.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the Chiefs comfortably here. They're playing good football right now. They have their sights set on that wild card spot. This would be another big step towards getting it. So I like Kansas City here to win by at least 2 touchdowns here in a pretty comfortable one at M&T Bank Stadium.
Yep, and last one before we go to break, we have a very important NFC East matchup. It's the Bills at the Redskins. This one is very close, and this one really, it took me a while to figure this one out because here you have the Redskins, who are probably the most inconsistent team in football, versus the Bills, or in the NFC, versus the Bills, probably the most inconsistent AFC football team this year. This was a very tough one. I'm taking the Redskins. They're at home. Kirk Cousins, in these games, he knows how to respond. The Redskins play well at home. And this is the time now. The Redskins have the easy schedule going forward compared to the Giants and the Eagles. You win this game, it sets up next Saturday night against Philadelphia. As a clincher, which is at Philadelphia, so you need that game too. So to set that up, and remember, if Philadelphia beats Arizona shockingly on Sunday night, which I don't expect, and as I spoil another pick, I think we did that an hour ago too, Philadelphia will be in place for a clincher if they beat Washington. So for Washington, they need this game. I expect Kirk Cousins to get it. Deshaun Jackson, I expect him to have a big game.
Because he likes that.
Because he likes that. I will take the Redskins very close, but I'm taking the Redskins.
I will take the Redskins as well, and I agree. Close game here. Need this one to at least, because even if they drop to Philly, they could still win the last week and have Philly. I don't know how the tiebreakers work out, so they could.
Well, Washington has the tiebreaker.
Okay, so as long as I know, but let's say they lose to the Eagles, I don't know how that changes.
Oh, yeah, we'll let NFL Network tell us
that's got conference record, all that stuff.
That's 2 weeks away,
right? But even if they lose this game, even if they lose to the Eagles, they can still probably control their own destiny. So that's the key here. They have to win this week. I think they do in a close one. Kirk Cousins, Deshaun Jackson gets those weapons involved this week.
Exactly. We'll take a quick break here on SMC Sports. Coming up, we will finish our NFL picks, and we will get you guys set for Week 15. SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. Sean McChesney, Nick Flaherty. Back after this. Minutes past the 7 o'clock hour. You are listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call to join the conversation. The final 30 minutes of SMC Sports for this semester. Myself and Nick will be back on the air in January, but until then, these are the last 30 minutes. We went 4 hours for you guys. I don't know how we did it, but we did it. Because now we're in the last hour, we're doing picks. All we had to do was make it for the first 3 hours and we were fine. That's all we had to do.
The material for the end was easy.
Exactly. Because I didn't think it was necessary, but with the football discussion we had, we needed that hour. We needed that extra hour. So shout out to Nick Francioso for not doing his Tech and Tunes show today. You can also hear Tech and Tunes. I don't know what time next semester. Probably late. starting in the spring semester, so you'll hear that. If you tuned in for EDM at 7 o'clock, I'm very sorry. But you can hear picks almost as entertaining.
Exactly.
So we left off now, and this is a big game for you as well as a Colts fan. Houston at Indianapolis. This could decide everything.
It will.
You do not win this division by default this year. You got to earn it. This is your team. You go first. Who do you got?
Houston. Houston. Nah, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. With or without Hasselbeck, I don't see it. The Texans, their defense has turned it on. TJ Yates has this crazy ability to win big games. I don't know if there's a backup who does it quite as well as him. Maybe
Matt
Hasselbeck
Castle,
as
clearly.
well. Okay, hey, listen. You want to win big games. You get
You
Matt
want to
Castle
go
out
1-9 with me?
That's
Let's
my man.
do it.
Exactly.
Matt Castle. Sign him today.
It pains me to say it. And, listen, I hope that the Colts get it done. I really do. And if they win, they're 7-7. They probably get Andrew Luck back the next week or maybe the week after.
And hopefully it's smooth sailing.
And maybe
from
they
there.
can. They're not listening. Listen, smooth sailing is winning the last 2 games, going 9-7, and going out wild card weekend. That's a success at this point. You will take that, having a home playoff game. That's great. Hooray. But you look at this
Hooray.
game, and Houston's coming in. I know they lost to New England, but they hung with them for most of the game, really. And they're, like I said, their defense is back on track. They're getting better quarterback play from Hoyer, and I still think that they can get a decent game out of Yates. And the alternative to Matt Hasselbeck, who hasn't played that well the last 2 weeks and is hurt, is clipboard Jesus, Charlie Whitehurst himself.
Yeah.
And in this spirit of Christmas, perhaps he can perform a miracle for us and win the game.
Cowboys need a miracle, too. But I think they're only going to give it to one team.
Yeah, no. If you had Charlie Whitehurst, yes.
I'm going with Houston as well. Houston has played very well, where the Colts have not. You have no Hasselbeck this weekend. You're right. Even with or without him, this is
They
still
don't
a
have
tough
anyone that
game.
can cover DeAndre Hopkins.
Exactly.
And listen, I love Vontae Davis, but that's
DeAndre
not happening.
Hopkins has just been a
What a
show
year.
this year. What a year he's had. You look at guys like,
Odell
Terrell Davis, who
and-
couldn't cover him, all that stuff, and of course he was hurt in that game. He was a little bit banged up.
You look at all the great receivers this year, Odell Beckham and Antonio Brown, all these guys, but I mean, really,
DeAndre Hopkins.
Unbelievable.
And he's another reason that I think they're going to win this game. The defense has really come on strong. Same with the offensive line. They've really done a great job protecting their quarterback. Well, obviously not too great, but considering they don't have their starter this week. But with both teams not having their starter, I'm giving this one to Houston. Very close, but I'm going to give it to Houston on the road.
Just another wonderful 7-9 season to pick 15th. Hooray!
Exactly. Tennessee at New England. Do we even have to go into this?
Patriots by a lot.
Patriots by more than 21 points.
They're getting back on their game. They're
I'll
taking
make that
care of
bet
business.
again. They're getting right back on their game. Everybody's coming back. I think you have Edelman back in a couple of weeks.
Need to be ready for the Steelers in the playoffs. That's
Got
what
to
they
be
have to be
ready.
ready for.
Have to be ready. I think the Patriots may clinch a bye with a win. I'm not sure. I
maybe.
fact check that. But they're already back in the 1 seed with Denver and Cincinnati losing last week. So New England's back in the 1 seed. I expect them to keep it in a game where, again, they score more than 21 points over the Titans. This is going to be the second week in a row that happens to the Titans. Carolina at New York.
I would not be surprised if this is close.
I think it will be close.
I think
Closer,
it probably will
not
be.
too close, but close. I say I'm going to pick Carolina in this game by no more than 10 points.
I think Carolina wins by a touchdown, to be honest with you. The Giants, they have a lot on the line here. Where I think they will get blown out will be Minnesota next week because Adrian Peterson will drag them to the end zone with him.
I think if the O-line doesn't protect Eli Manning enough, and we all know who Eli is, he can't protect himself, and more importantly, he cannot throw in tight coverage in these games. So if that's the case, Carolina's going to destroy New York. But if Eli Manning comes to be the Eli Manning he always is in these tight games, and by these games I really mean Patriots games, so let's see how you do against another team like this, expect it to be close. I'm picking Carolina by no more than 10.
Yeah, I'm with you. Carolina, a very close one here.
Especially because of the games that Carolina has had. You look at the New Orleans game 2 weeks ago, they barely won that one.
Yep.
Bears at Minnesota. Now this, obviously I'm going with Minnesota. I'll take them at home over the Bears. Big rival game, so I expect this to be close.
Need this game, the Vikings.
Need
it.
So this is one of those games you got to see Teddy Bridgewater come out. You have to see him be hot.
They got smacked by Green Bay. They came back with a win over Atlanta. They got destroyed by Seattle. They got ripped.
That is an understatement.
They got ripped
Seattle's
by
playing
Arizona.
the best football right now. Besides Jacksonville, Seattle's playing the best football.
Arizona took it to them for the most part. It was a close game in the end, but the Cardinals, they outplayed them. The Vikings need this one. They're at home, and then they're at home again next week against the Giants. as long as they win these next two, they're probably getting a wild card spot. They probably guarantee themselves that they get in, and then it comes down to Week 17 against the Packers to win the North. So I'll take the Vikings here by probably a touchdown or maybe 10 points.
I agree. I'm taking the Vikings as well. It's definitely going to be a close game. Chicago's very inconsistent. Almost just see every other week they put up a fight of their lives. I expect that to be this week. I'm taking the Vikings at home. Again, like you said, probably no more than 7 or 10 points.
Yeah.
Atlanta at Jacksonville. Do we really
Jags?
This is a very easy week, man.
Some of them are.
I'm taking the Jags by probably 17 points. I mean,
at least
Atlanta has had what, and you know what, Jacksonville. And I'm sorry about your Colts last week because your Colts got murdered. So I express my condolences of last week. I know it still stings, but
deserving.
Jacksonville has been, besides Seattle. For a team that's playing under 500, Jacksonville's playing the best football.
They're really hot.
They're playing really hot. Bortles has been playing great. The defense has really come around. And especially this team, without Fowler Jr., coming in this year.
Defensively, yeah.
Defensively,
really
they have been playing very well without him. And, imagine what they're playing like with him right now. Obviously, we have to wait, unfortunately, until next year because I was really excited to see him play. Yeah. Very excited.
Atlanta has folded, so...
Atlanta has fallen off the face of the earth, and they are not coming back for another year. You look at this team. You remember when they were 6-1? They are 6-7 now. They've lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
Some games very close too.
And 7 of 8.
Lost their last 7 of 8.
Disaster.
I expect their next 8 of 9 as well. I'm taking Jacksonville by 17.
Agreed.
All right, next one before we go to break. Actually, we got a couple before we go to break. We'll have Green Bay at Oakland, which to me is a lot tougher of a game than you think. I am going to go Green Bay on the road, but close. Oakland has had one of those up and down weeks as well, but Green Bay is really starting to put it back together. After the loss to Chicago, Aaron Rodgers is finding himself again. He's finding who his weapons are. And the game against Dallas, that was a game where even Sean said it. Their offensive line wasn't that great. Their defense had to be better for them to beat the Cowboys. Well, they were, that's for sure. The defense showed up. I expected here as well. I'm going to take Green Bay by probably no more than 10.
I like the Raiders here.
I'm
be honest with you. For Chris Berman, with
the points.
With the points. I like Oakland here. I know the Packers can run away with this division if they keep on winning here, and they very well may. But Oakland, they played a really nice game last week in Denver. I know that Carr didn't have a great day, but he threw the ball for the go-ahead score, which they needed at the time. The defense played really well. They have a good pass rush. Khalil Mack is an awesome player. I don't think anyone would dispute that. Charles Woodson, I don't know how the guy's still doing it, but he is just dominating right now. He's had a great year.
Could probably go till he's 60.
If Oakland, I really like Oakland come next year. I think they continue to find some consistency here. They have had a nice year. They've taken a big step forward, and Amari Cooper, the AC/DC combo has been awesome. Since the game's at home, that's really why I'm taking them. They have done a really nice job this year. I think Jack Del Rio has them headed in the right direction, and if they can execute come next season, I like them. They're 6-7. They're not eliminated yet. They're probably not going to make it either, but they still have something to play for, and I think they'll come out and they get a win here against the Packers.
Yeah, and last one before we go to break, we have Cleveland at Seattle. Now, I'm taking Seattle at home. It's very tough to play in Seattle alone, but with Seattle now at 8-5, they were down and dead a couple weeks ago. Seattle has been playing their best football this entire season. Give the credit to Russell Wilson. Give the credit to that defense as well. They've
and
really
the weak
stepped
opponents
up.
they've played.
The weak opponents they played, of course, they get another one. But you know what? Hey, a win is a win. You've had Russell Wilson having these 30-plus point games in fantasy the last 6 weeks. But you know what? Now Seattle's gone from down and dead to a possible playoff team. Now they still got work to do, but this week
looking good right now.
Looking good. I'm gonna take Seattle in this game probably by no more than 17.
Yeah, I think they win pretty comfortably here at home. They got their sights set on that 5 seed in the NFC. So
unfortunately, I think it's too late.
Done.
It's too late for them to win that NFC West.
The Cardinals clinched, I think, last week with the win, right?
I believe they clinched a spot. They can win the division on Sunday.
Yeah. I like Seattle in this game. Johnny Manziel's. I think he's done a good job this year, and he was good. In those couple games he's played, and I think he continues to take some steps forward here, particularly with the chance to play some spoiler down the stretch run here. But Seattle at home is a safe bet here.
All right, and with that, we will take a quick break here on SMC Sports. Coming up, we will wrap up the picks, and then we will wrap up the final show of the fall semester of SMC Sports. 41 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour, you're listening to SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call to join the conversation. Sean McChesney and Nick Flaherty back after this. And with that, 46 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour, you are tuned into SMC Sports on 90.3 FM. 973-655-4256 is the number to call to join the conversation. Sean McChesney and Nick Flaherty in the studio. We are wrapping up our NFL picks, and we will wrap up the show right after that. So let's get right into it, not waste any more time. We have the Cincinnati Bengals on the road at San Francisco. Now, let me start off with this game first, because this is my trap game of the week right here. San Francisco's played very inconsistent football, I will give them that, but they have really hung into games, especially with Arizona. They really hung into that game. And Cincinnati, they have lost 3 very questionable games. Obviously, the one against Arizona we kind of saw coming a lot closer than we thought. But the game against Houston and all that stuff, so to me, this is definitely one of my trap games. Cincinnati cannot afford to play down to San Francisco. Now, I'm picking Cincinnati to win, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I say by no more than 10 points, but I'm taking Cincinnati on the road.
Blaine Gabbert's been really good for San Francisco.
That's another reason.
And they're at home, and this team has battled really nicely. So I like the 49ers here. I do think the Bengals will win at least one of these last 3 to win the North. But I just don't know if A.J. McCarron gets that win this week in his first week as the full-time starter.
I completely forgot about McCarron. I'm still going to pick him to win.
Yeah,
Closer,
I mean, they're good enough to win this game without Dalton because
he had
the
a lot
Niners
of good
don't have
throws
that
in that
much
game
ability.
against Pittsburgh, too.
He threw a 66-yard beauty to Green.
Straight out of his Alabama days.
He threw a beautiful deep ball in college. If you ever saw it, the man
Him and Cooper together were amazing.
He threw a 99-yarder to Cooper standing on the goal line.
Oh,
he went deep
God.
on 3rd and 7. I remember the Iron Bowl against Auburn. They lost the game. That was when Auburn ran the field goal back. Remember that?
Right.
Okay, but anyway, he threw a 99-yard touch, and it was a beautiful. I mean, McCarron could always throw the ball deep.
That's their one advantage, especially they want the deep game in San Francisco, which is always a great place to have it.
Yeah, so I think I don't know. I like the Niners right now. They're playing well. I think the Bengals will have to wait to win the North until that Ravens game last week, but you don't want it to come down to that because then the Steelers are knocking on the door.
And you know something, the Ravens will play spoiler in that game, and you know that.
Absolutely.
Especially the Bengals have no momentum. The next one, Miami at San Diego. Here are 2 teams who don't have to play for anything at this point.
San Diego's putrid.
They really are. I'm taking Miami here on the road. You know, Miami's had a lot of up and down weeks, but they hung into it with the Giants for a little while on Monday night. They've hung into it with a lot of other teams, and this is just another example of Miami playing a crappy opponent, and we expect them to just destroy them. You know, we saw it with Tennessee. We saw it with Houston. Houston at the time, of course. But Miami does well against teams that they are supposed to win against. They do well against teams that they are superior to. I expect no different on Sunday. I'll take Miami on the road.
Can I just pick them to tie? Because they're both awful. Miami's worse.
No, because if I see one tie this year.
I know. Miami's worse because of the money they've invested in this team.
Oh, yeah, Ndamukong Suh signing. I even said it on Craig's call.
The new Albert Hainsworth.
Yeah, you know what? And before you get to your pick, I just wanted to mention this. I forgot to mention it while Craig was here. When they signed Ndamukong Suh, that was the first pick we mentioned the Sunday after the free agency signing. And I said, Craig, that's great. But here's the problem. They spent all their money on one guy.
Yeah.
That's not going to do anything.
They don't have great offensive weapons outside of Jarvis Landry.
It's a bad money decision.
Tannehill, that's the bad money decision. That's too much money for him.
Tannehill was the second one before that.
I have Miami winning here because San Diego's just ravaged by injuries. I feel bad for Phillip Rivers. He's had an awesome year in a year where his team is just destroyed by the injury bug, and he's throwing to third-string receivers. But I have Miami getting the win here. On the road, and you know that'll get the Dolphins their 6th or 7th win now. 7th
win. Would be 6-8.
6-8. Okay.
Next one, the last 4 o'clock. This will be Denver at Pittsburgh. A lot closer to a lot riding for both teams. The performance that Denver put up last week, I thought was very disappointing. Yeah. Despite Brock Osweiler, and Brock Osweiler has been playing very well. Obviously, he was going to have one of these games eventually.
They don't run the ball very well.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
I am picking Pittsburgh to win this one. They're at home. Ben Roethlisberger has been playing very well for someone who's supposed to be not at 100%. You have D'Angelo Williams in the backfield. Has been playing very well in replacing Le'Veon Bell. And, of course, Antonio Brown. The second that guy is even the closest to being open, he doesn't even have to be open yet, but has a slight chance of catching the ball, he's coming down with the ball. I'm taking Pittsburgh, and the defense played very well. I'm taking Pittsburgh. Not too close, probably by 2 touchdowns.
With Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant, Marcus Wheaton, there are so many weapons on this Pittsburgh offense. This is without Le'Veon Bell. It's really impressive to watch. I like the Steelers here comfortably. I think 3 scores minimum.
Wow, okay.
Denver cannot run the ball, and in this cold weather,
with this defense.
With the Steelers' defense coming around, I don't like this matchup
C.J.
at all.
Anderson's banged up. Ronnie Hillman really doesn't act as a number one running back either. So
I don't like this matchup at all.
I see that too. Sunday night, and a lot riding on this one too for Philadelphia. For Philadelphia to have a shot at winning this division, they must win Sunday.
For me, this is the trap of the week.
This
really.
could, you're right.
For
actually,
Arizona.
Now that I look at it, this could be a trap game. But I'm going with Arizona on the road. Yes, Philly's at home, and we'll just start off with this right away. Again, for Philly to have a shot to win this division, they must win Sunday night to set up Washington at your place next Saturday night in Philadelphia to set that clincher up. So for this to even be possible, you have to beat Arizona. I don't think they're going to do it. I think Arizona does play down in Philadelphia a little bit. I expect it to be close because Philadelphia's hung in with teams like Buffalo. They've hung in with teams like... They beat New England, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So Philadelphia has proven at 6-7 they can hang in with these tough teams. I'm taking Arizona on the road close, I'd say by 7 points. You know, I see Carson Palmer really coming to life in the fourth quarter, especially if he has a bad first half, which I don't doubt at all. And, of course, you know, just the running backs, the receivers. I expect them all to come to life in the fourth quarter. I will take Arizona by 7 or less.
I completely agree with you. I think Arizona wins, but it's a close game. Philly's got so much on the line right now. Arizona's had a harder time when they've come east. They had a tough game with the Browns early in the season where they just kind of seemed like they were sleepwalking. The thing that changes it for me is the division is available to win this week, and I think that's so big. They can get that first round bye. They can get healthy. They said that they could get Chris Johnson back for a playoff game if they had the bye, so that would be huge to get him back in the fold.
I think when they win 2 of the next 3, they get it.
The bye, yeah. They win this week. They're in great shape for it anyway. I mean, they would probably just take one more win at most. But they could get Chris Johnson back off that bye with the way Kerwin Williams and David Johnson have played while he's out. That would be huge. So yeah, I think Arizona gets this win in a tough place to play. Philly is always raucous. You're taking your life in your hands in there if you're rooting for the Cardinals and you're letting everyone know it. But Arizona wins.
There's a reason there's a prison
close.
inside the stadium.
Yes, this is true. So
not
Arizona close.
Not calling out Philadelphia. I'm just stating the facts.
Yep.
And finally, we have Monday night. Not much riding on this one, but could be very entertaining. Detroit at New Orleans. I'm taking Detroit on the road. I think they played the better football as of late. Looking at their last 3 wins that they've had, facing teams like Green Bay. I believe I can't even get it off the top of my head. But you get my point here.
Yeah.
I like Detroit here in this matchup in the Superdome. The Saints, they've been playing very on and off. They had that hot streak, got cold, beat Tampa last week at Tampa Bay, which was redemption of their Week 2 massacre that Jameis Winston put on the field. So I'm taking Detroit. I like Matt Stafford in this one. Calvin Johnson's really been coming along for himself. Philadelphia, that was the 41-14 massacre on Thanksgiving. But I like Detroit in this one. I think their defense is better. I think they can stop the run better. I will take them close. I say by 6 or less. Give me Detroit on the road.
I have New Orleans by 4. Okay. I have to do a score thing on my sheet. So I said 38-34 New Orleans. I think this is high scoring. Detroit,
I think it's very high scoring.
Detroit's played better lately. I mean, really, they've turned it on. They were in a lot of the games they lost early in the year. So it's difficult to really get a read on this group. But Drew Brees has had an awesome year. And I like New Orleans at home here, get a win. I think a late scoring drive is the difference. I think for a Monday night game with 2 teams that have nothing to play for, I think it's a very entertaining one.
Absolutely. And that is going to conclude our NFL picks for this week and for this semester.